Mesopotamia, the cradle of faith. Mesopotamia wasn't just the land between rivers. It was the first spark where humans thought gods might be watching. Around 3,500 BCE, between the Tigris and Euphrates, people built temples taller than houses, ziggurats, to reach the sky. Here, belief wasn't just about faith. It was about survival. Floods, famine, and war made divine favor a currency. The Sumerians worshipped Anu, Enlil, and Inanna, sky, wind, and love. Every city had its own god, like rival nations with cosmic armies. Their stories shaped humanity's first myths: a great flood, a paradise garden, and gods walking among humans. Stories that later echoed in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Archaeologists found tablets like the Epic of Gilgamesh, where a man tries to cheat death. Sound familiar? That's the first recorded struggle with mortality, the same question all religions chase. Mesopotamia didn't just build cities, it built the blueprint for belief. When empires collapsed, their gods evolved into new names and symbols. The first seed was planted, and it spread east and west like wildfire. Next stop, a river that never stops being holy. India, the sacred rivers. The Ganges isn't just water. To millions, it's a living goddess. Flowing from the Himalayas to the Bay of Bengal, it's where life, death, and rebirth meet. Around 1500 BCE, the Indo-Aryans arrived, bringing Sanskrit chants that became the Vedas. Out of those verses, Hinduism took form, not as one religion, but a massive ecosystem of belief. Picture this: fire rituals at dawn, smoke rising over ancient ghats, priests reciting mantras that predate most languages. The gods, Agni, Indra, Varuna, ruled the skies and storms. Over centuries, the focus shifted inward. Philosophers started asking, what if the divine isn't out there but inside us? That's where ideas like karma, dharma, and moksha were born. Empires came and went: Maurya, Gupta, Mughal. But the Ganges stayed the constant witness. Even today, people travel thousands of miles to die near its banks, believing it frees the soul from endless rebirth. From this river, faith flowed across Asia, birthing Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism. The Ganges didn't just nourish crops, it nourished entire civilizations of thought. Next, the desert where gods ruled the sun and the dead walked among pyramids. Egypt, ancient Egyptian religion. Egypt wasn't obsessed with life, it was obsessed with what came after. The Nile's rhythm dictated everything: flood, harvest, and death. Around 3000 BCE, pharaohs ruled as living gods, claiming their bloodline came straight from the sun. Their mission? To cheat death permanently. The pyramids at Giza weren't tombs, they were resurrection machines. Inside, priests performed the opening of the mouth ceremony, believing it gave the dead king breath in the next world. The Book of the Dead, filled with spells, passwords, and instructions, was basically a spiritual GPS for eternity. Osiris, god of the afterlife, was Egypt's favorite myth: a murdered king reborn as ruler of the dead. His story shaped how people viewed resurrection thousands of years before Christianity appeared. When Alexander the Great conquered Egypt in 332 BCE, he didn't erase its faith, he fused it. Greek and Egyptian gods merged, birthing Serapis, a hybrid deity. That fusion of East and West beliefs paved the way for later religious blending across the Mediterranean. Egypt's sands still hold mummified prayers to eternity. Next, a mountain where fire, stone, and commandments collided. Mount Sinai, the Desert Covenant. The Sinai Peninsula looks lifeless, but it's where monotheism got serious. Around the 13th century BCE, a group of nomads fled Egypt, led by a man named Moses. In that burning desert, he climbed Mount Sinai and came down with stone tablets. Not just laws, but a deal between humans and one God. Unlike Egypt's many gods, this one was invisible, untouchable, jealous, but promising justice. The Hebrew tribes, once scattered, now had identity through covenant. religion became contract, not just ritual. Over centuries, those laws evolved into Judaism's foundation. The Torah turned oral history into scripture. Exile, slavery, and diaspora only made the bond tighter. Jerusalem became sacred ground, not because of wealth or power, but because belief demanded it. When Babylon destroyed the first temple in 586 BCE, faith didn't die. It adapted, portable, text-based, unshakable. The desert's emptiness had given birth to a God who didn't need statues or temples to survive. Mount Sinai was more than a mountain. It was the moment humanity met the idea of moral law. Next, the city where prophets, messiahs, and martyrs would collide. Jerusalem, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Jerusalem sits on limestone hills, small but heavier with meaning than any empire. Here, three major religions drew their lines: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Around 1000 BCE, King David made it his capital. His son Solomon built the first temple, a golden center for Jewish worship. Centuries later, Romans ruled it, and another local, Jesus of Nazareth, began preaching revolution through forgiveness. His crucifixion under Roman power turned a small Jewish sect into a global faith. Then, in the 7th century CE, Islam rose from Arabia, recognizing the same prophets but claiming a final message. Muhammad's followers built the Dome of the Rock right where the Jewish temple once stood, sealing Jerusalem as sacred to all three. Wars, crusades, and politics have fought over these hills for 3,000 years. Every stone here carries a story of conquest and belief. Today, Jerusalem is divided by walls and checkpoints, but faith still bleeds through its air. Next, the tree under which one man found peace and changed Asia forever. Bodh Gaya, the Enlightened Grove, Buddhism. In a quiet corner of India, a man sat under a fig tree and refused to move. His name was Siddhartha Gautama. For 6 years, he'd tried everything: luxury, starvation, meditation, and still found no peace. Then, one night around 500 BCE, under that tree in Bodh Gaya, he woke up, not as a prince, but as the Buddha. His realization was simple but brutal. Life is suffering, and the way out is through understanding, not worship. No gods, no sacrifices, just self-awareness and compassion. That hit different in a world full of rituals. Buddhism spread fast. From India to China, Japan, and Tibet, monks carried the teachings like seeds. Empires such as Ashoka's helped it bloom by carving edicts into stone, declaring nonviolence as state policy. But time twists everything. As Buddhism mixed with local beliefs, it split. Theravada, Mahayana, Zen. Each culture reshaped the message, but the core stayed: enlightenment through the mind. Today, Bodh Gaya is a magnet for millions. Under that same tree's descendant, pilgrims still sit, eyes closed, chasing the same silence. Next, a civilization that found harmony in the chaos of nature. China, the East Asian balance. China's spiritual roots aren't about one god, they're about balance. Around 500 BCE, when the West fought wars and prophets preached, China birthed philosophers. Laozi wrote of the Tao, the invisible flow that moves everything. Confucius turned ethics into a kind of sacred duty. Temples and altars lined the Yellow River, but the real worship was harmony between heaven, earth, and humanity. Ancestor veneration made family a spiritual act. The dead stayed part of life's rhythm. During the Han Dynasty, Taoism became religion, mixing alchemy and meditation. Then Buddhism arrived through the Silk Road, blending with local ideas into something uniquely Chinese, serene yet practical. Even the emperors claimed divine right through the mandate of heaven, a spiritual audit that justified power as long as nature stayed calm. Droughts or earthquakes? Proof that the ruler had lost balance. Today, from incense-filled temples to quiet mountain monasteries, China's faith systems still hum with that same principle: order through flow. Next, when faith crossed oceans and remade the New World. New World, Christianity blended with indigenous. When European ships reached the Americas in the 15th century, they didn't just bring guns and gold, they brought gods. Christianity arrived with crosses and conquest, crashing into indigenous beliefs that already worshipped sun, wind, and earth. The Aztecs saw Spanish priests burn temples and build churches on top. The Inca watched their sacred mountains renamed after saints. But underneath, native spirituality survived, blending into something hybrid. The Virgin of Guadalupe in Mexico, for example, carries both Catholic and Aztec symbols, a spiritual remix that defines Latin America today. Meanwhile, African slaves brought their own gods across the Atlantic. In places like Haiti and Brazil, they fused them with Catholic saints, creating Vodou and Candomblé, faiths born from pain and survival. The New World became a collision zone where belief adapted faster than empires could rule. Every religion that crossed the ocean changed form, proving faith doesn't die, it evolves. Today, megachurches, yoga studios, and online sermons all trace their DNA back to those ancient lands: Mesopotamia, the Ganges, the Nile, and beyond. Faith travels, transforms, and never stops moving. So when you zoom out, it's wild. Every belief system we know today started from a few patches of land. Mesopotamia's clay tablets, India's sacred rivers, Egypt's tombs, Jerusalem's hills. One spark in each place, and those sparks shaped billions of lives. What started as fear of floods and famine turned into prayers, laws, and philosophies that still run the world. Every religion is like a remix of the same human questions. Why are we here? What happens after? Who's in charge? The answers just changed with the landscape. From ziggurats to temples, pyramids to mosques, one thing never changed: people looking up, hoping there's something bigger than themselves looking back. If this story made you think, hit subscribe, because we're diving even deeper into where humanity's biggest ideas were born. Drop a comment with which ancient place or religion you want decoded next. This is history, geography, and faith, all colliding. And it started right here on Earth.